Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking through some player props I like on Prizepicks this week for the college football playoff games. We have the start of the 12-team college football playoff. It technically starts on Friday night with Notre Dame in Indiana. That's the first playoff game, and I actually do have a prop that I like from that game that we're going to talk about in this video. I am recording this video on Friday afternoon. I was just going to give out plays for the games on Saturday, but since there is a prop that I do like from the game tonight, I'm going to share that in this video. And then we're going to share 3 more plays from Saturday's games. Actually, we're going to give out a prop that I liked from each one of the 4 games this week. So each one of the 4 playoff games, we're going to talk about a prop I like from each game. So 4 plays to discuss in this video. As always, guys, before we do talk through these plays, make sure you guys hit that like button down below if you enjoy these Prizepicks videos, if they help you out. Hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel and if you are new to Prizepicks, go sign up for Prizepicks. Use promo code NOAH when you do. When you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code and place your first lineup, you'll get $50 in promo funds instantly added to your account. Be sure to use that code NOAH when you sign up for Prizepicks. And I do also want to shout out Sleeper because we do have a partnership with Sleeper as well. And Sleeper has a new promo they're running for new users. Play $5, get $55. This replaces their 100% deposit match that they used to have. So now you can deposit $25, which I think is the minimum on Sleeper. You deposit $25, play a $5 lineup. Once you do that, Sleeper is going to give you $55 worth of free lineups that you can use to play with, hopefully build sort of a bankroll up with. And this is definitely a new, a promo that tailors really towards new users, people who don't have a ton of money that they really want to put into this. So you can just kind of deposit the minimum, play around with Sleeper, use those free lineups, hopefully win some money off those, and sort of build a bankroll that way. So definitely check out this promo, guys. If you're not on Sleeper yet, download their app. Sign up, make sure to use that promo code NOAH so that way you do get those $55 worth of free lineups. But let's go ahead and discuss the props that I'm liking on Prizepicks for this week's college football games. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. I know a lot of you are excited for these games. I'm excited for these playoff games. Let's talk through some props I'm liking. So the first prop that I like for the first game, which is Notre Dame in Indiana, that's the game Friday night. The prop that I like in this one is going to be Justice Ellison. We're going to take him for more than 7.5 fantasy scores. So Indiana is a team that uses kind of a committee at running back. You're going to see Justice Ellison play some snaps. You're going to see Tyson Lawton play some snaps. But as of late, Ellison has been the guy getting more of the snaps. It's kind of a 50-50 split between those two. But as of late, it's been more of like a 60-40 split in terms of snaps between Ellison and Lawton. And over their last 7 games, it's actually been Ellison who has outsnapped Lawton. He's outsnapped Lawton in 6 of their last 7 games. He's also been getting pretty good volume. He's had at least 11 touches in 8 straight games. This matchup against Notre Dame is obviously very tough. I mean, it's the college football playoffs. These are the best 12 teams left. Like, you're not really going to see many players have good matchups. It's going to be a lot of good defenses going up against each other. So, like, it's not, you can't really say any of these guys have good matchups. So the matchup obviously is not great here for Ellison, but the role is really strong. This is a line that I think is just way too low given Ellison's projections. This is a guy that typically gets anywhere from 10 to 15 touches per game. He's got a 52.5 rush yards prop. He's got a 61.5 rush plus receiving yards prop. Now, Ellison, not a guy that really catches a lot of passes. Like this season, he's only caught 11 passes. So we're probably not going to see him catch a bunch of passes, but if he catches 1 or 2 passes, that's probably going to be good given this line. I mean, he projects for 60 yards. He's favored to get a reception. His 0.5 receptions prop is a goblin. If you give Ellison 60 yards and 1 catch, that's going to put him at 7 fantasy points, and that's almost going to put him over this line. And that's without factoring in any touchdown equity. Ellison has scored 10 touchdowns this season, and I was looking at touchdown odds. He's pretty much 50-50. DraftKings has him minus 110 to score a touchdown in this game. You're going to give me a guy with that's projected for almost 7 fantasy points just from yards and receptions, and then factoring in he's basically a coin flip to score a touchdown. You're going to give me his fantasy score line at 7.5. I definitely think this is too low of a line on Justice Ellison. Even though it's a tough matchup here, he could get over this just from volume alone. He could get like 12, 14 touches and just get 7.5 fantasy points from that. He could also score a touchdown, and if he scores a touchdown, he's almost guaranteed to go over 7.5 fantasy score. So really like this play on Justice Ellison. And actually, the college football fantasy point projections that I look at, I like to compare projections back to Prizepicks. The projections that I look at have Ellison projected around 12 fantasy points. I think this line on Prizepicks should probably be like 10.5. I think 7.5 is just too low on Ellison here, so I do like this as our first prop for the first college football game, playoff game, Notre Dame, Indiana. We're going to take Justice Ellison for more than 7.5 fantasy score. Okay, next game is going to be SMU, Penn State, and the prop that I'm liking in this game on Saturday is going to be a prop on Kevin Jennings, and we're going to take Kevin Jennings for more than 247.5 pass plus rush yards. So I don't mind taking more than 225.5 pass yards on Kevin Jennings either, but I do like adding the rush yards element to this because Kevin Jennings is a dual threat quarterback. He is a guy that can run. He's very mobile. This season, he's run for 379 yards. He's had 93 carries. So, in situations where he has pressure, he'll scramble and he can pick up yards with his legs as well. If you look, for what it's worth, he's gone over this line in all of his last 5 games. I think he's actually gone over this line in like 8 straight games or something like that. He's been playing really, really well lately. SMU's offense has been putting up a ton of points. Now, sure, SMU has not faced the same caliber of defenses as Penn State. This is probably the toughest matchup that SMU's had all season. But man, SMU looked great against Clemson in the ACC Championship. I mean, Clemson's not like a terrible defense by any means. And in that game, Kevin Jennings threw for 304 yards, also added on 35 rush yards. He threw the ball 50 times last week, and this is a spot where I think we can project some good pass volume for Kevin Jennings here. SMU's going into this game on the road. These first round playoff games, they're actually played at the team's home stadium. So like Penn State's playing this game at their home stadium. So this is a spot where SMU's going on the road. They're 9-point underdogs. They're probably going to be playing from behind. And when SMU's playing from behind, they'll let Kevin Jennings throw the ball a good amount. I mean, he had 50 pass attempts against Clemson. That was a game that they were playing from behind and they lost. And then earlier this season against BYU, they did lose that game. Jennings only threw for 140 yards, but he had 32 pass attempts. So I think we're probably going to see Kevin Jennings throw the ball 30 plus times. He's probably going to scramble as well, get some yards with his legs. I like both these props, 225.5 pass yards, 247.5 pass plus rush. I know the matchup against Penn State is tough. I mean, Penn State's a great defensive team. They're probably one of the better defenses in the country. But SMU also has a really good offense, a really explosive offense, and they have shown an ability to be able to move the ball down the field, to put up chunk plays. And Jennings, I mean, he's been playing incredibly well lately. You look at his last few games, 254 pass yards against Florida State, 281 against Louisville, 322 against Stanford, 258 against Duke, 306 against Pittsburgh, 298 against BC, 323 against Virginia, 225 against Cal, and then 304 against Clemson. I mean, really ever since he took over as the starter for ahead of Preston Stone, he's been playing incredibly well, especially after their first few games. His first few games as a starter, he did struggle a little bit, but he's really started to settle in, play incredibly well. Obviously a tough environment here, tough spot going on the road against Penn State. But I think just given the game script, the likelihood that SMU is going to be playing from behind, we're going to see plenty of dropbacks for Kevin Jennings, plenty of opportunities for him to not only get pass yards, but also potentially scramble and pick up some rush yards as well. Hopefully he doesn't take a lot of sacks because if you're not aware, in college football, sacks do count as negative rush yards. That's my one concern, is that Jennings gets sacked a bunch and we lose yards for that. But he's a guy that can typically, even when he's got pressure on him, he can scramble and he can pick up yards and not take too many sacks. So I do like that as our second prop for Saturday for the college football games. For the SMU Penn State game, we're going to take Kevin Jennings for more than 247.5 pass plus rush yards. Now, next game we have is Texas and Clemson, and the prop that I'm liking in the Texas-Clemson game, there's actually 2 props I like here. So I already gave out in my Patreon Phil Maffa under 59.5 rush plus receiving yards. That line obviously got bumped down to 57.5. You could still take that. I think under 57.5 rush plus receiving on Phil Maffa still looks solid. But I also like under or less than 13.5 longest rush. So you look at Phil Maffa lately, he has been really, really inefficient on the ground. And it's most likely due to him having a shoulder injury. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury. It's already been reported that he's going to have shoulder surgery after this season. So Maffa's not really healthy right now. He's just kind of he has to play because Clemson really has no other running backs. But like you look at the SMU game, he had 13 carries, averaged 2.2 yards per carry, had a longest run of 8 yards. The game against South Carolina, he had 20 carries, averaged 3.3 yards per carry, and had a longest run of 14 yards, so barely went over this line. And then against Citadel, he had just 3 carries for 14 yards. I think that might have been the game he got injured in, or they just kind of opted to rest him because they won that game so easily. And then the Virginia Tech game, or the Pittsburgh game, he was really, really bad. Had 17 carries for 17 yards, averaged 1 yard per carry, had a longest run of 6 yards. So Mafa's efficiency has been really, really bad lately. He's historically been a pretty efficient running back in terms of explosiveness, ability to break off long carries. But like right now, he just doesn't really look like he's healthy. He hasn't really been able to break off any long runs. And this is a very, very difficult matchup going up against Texas. Texas, a great defense. They're a great run defense. So far this season, Texas is only giving up 106 rush yards per game, which is 12th best in the country. And then if you look at yards per carry, Texas is allowing just 3.1 yards per carry, which is also one of the best marks in the country. So not only does this Texas team not give up a lot of rush yards, they also don't give up a lot of big plays because they're only giving up 3.1 yards per carry. So maybe Phil Mafah gets a big workload just because they don't really have any other running backs on the roster. But in a spot where Clemson's big underdogs, I think they're the biggest underdogs in this college football playoff round one. They're like 11-point underdogs in this game. In a spot like this where Clemson's going on the road as big underdogs, they're probably going to be forced to throw. K. Klubnik's probably going to have to drop back a lot in this game. I don't really know how much Clemson's going to run the ball with Phil Mafah, if much at all. And even if they do decide to give the ball to Mafah 20 times, I don't think it's a guarantee Mafah's really efficient in this matchup. The only reason I don't like his under on 45.5 rush yards is because I could see him getting he could get 20 carries and average 3 yards a carry and get 60 yards. But he could not have any long runs, which is kind of why I like the longest rush prop instead of his rush yards. If you weren't going to take longest rush, I would take under 57.5 rush plus receiving. Mafah doesn't really get a lot of usage in the passing game. I mean, his receiving yards line is only 6.5. Maybe he catches a couple balls here, but they haven't really been throwing him the ball much lately at all. I think he's had 2 receiving yards or less in all of his last few games. Let's see. Yeah, he's had 2 receiving yards or less in all of his 4 of his last 5 games. So he doesn't really get the ball thrown to him much, which is why I like rush plus receiving under as well. But the under on longest rush I think looks pretty good too. Mafah, again, just not really been explosive lately, hasn't really been able to break off long runs, and now he draws a really difficult matchup here against a Texas team that doesn't really give up many big runs to running backs. So I like that as our third prop. And then the fourth and final prop we're going to take a look at in the Ohio State-Tennessee game, last game of the college football playoffs, round one. We're going to look at a fantasy score prop in this game, and I like TreVeyon Henderson for more than 10.5 fantasy scores. So let's talk about this prop on TreVeyon Henderson, why I like this one. Kind of a similar situation here as the Indiana running backs. Indiana, they use kind of a committee at running back with Ellison and Lawton. Ohio State also uses a committee at running back with TreVeyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Now, as of late, it's actually been Henderson who's been getting more snaps, and Henderson's snaps have kind of increased lately, whereas Judkins' snaps have kind of decreased. If you look at their last 3 games, 35, 37, and 45 snaps for Henderson, whereas Judkins has played just 24, 26, and 22 snaps. Typically, Henderson's kind of like the workhorse guy, the guy that can get you 10, 15 carries, whereas Judkins is kind of he's more of the explosive back, and he's the guy that can break off the long runs. If I had to describe these guys, I think it's similar to the Lions running back situation. I feel like Henderson's more of the David Montgomery type of guy, the bruiser, the guy that can pick up those on short yardage situations. He's the guy that can get you 3-4 yards. Whereas if you're looking for explosive plays, guys to break off long runs, that's usually Judkins can do that. But both these running backs are going to be involved. Henderson, as of late, though, has been involved more, and his volume has been pretty solid this season. Now, sure, he's not going to go out there and get 25 touches because they have another running back that they're going to give touches to. But I think we can still expect Henderson to probably see at least 10, if not more than that, touches in this game. Now, Tennessee, probably not a great matchup either here for running backs. I mean, Tennessee's been a good defense this season. But I think this line at 10.5 on Henderson is just a little bit too low, given Henderson's involvement not only in the running game, but in the passing game, and that's something that I really want to highlight. Henderson has been getting a lot of involvement in the passing game lately. You can look at his receiving yards. He's been racking up a bunch of receptions, and those are huge for Prizepicks fantasy score. You want running backs that can catch passes because you get a point per reception. It just adds up. You can get points so quickly when running backs are out there catching passes, not only getting carries, getting yards on the ground, but when they're catching passes as well, those points really start to add up. And Henderson's been getting a lot of usage in the passing game lately. last few games, 3 catches for 43 yards, 2 catches for 19 yards, 3 catches for 5 yards, 2 catches for 25 yards. If we can get that receiving floor from Henderson to go along with the probably 10 plus carries he gets here, he should have a good chance of going over 10.5 fantasy score. Also, you got to factor in touchdown potential. Anytime Ohio State gets near the red zone, near the goal line, it's not a guarantee that Henderson's going to get their goal line touches because they could give those to Judkins. But Henderson has scored 6 touchdowns this season. He's a guy that they can use in the goal, in goal line situations as well. So I do like him for more than 10.5 fantasy score here. I also don't mind taking his over on rush plus receiving yards, but I like doing fantasy score instead, just because with fantasy score, you get a point per reception, you get points for touchdowns, and I think Henderson could score a touchdown here. I was looking at his touchdown odds, and I think on DraftKings, he's also like minus 110, minus 120 for a touchdown, so he's basically like a coin flip to score a touchdown in this game. Ohio State should be able to move the ball down the field against Tennessee. They're a team that likes to run the ball. They'll use their running backs in the passing game too, and Henderson's usage in the passing game lately is very encouraging. I love to see that, especially when we're talking about a fantasy score prop that you want those running backs catching passes, and that's what Henderson does offer. And I was looking at Underdog, kind of doing some comparing some projections. So first off, the college football projections that I look at for fantasy, they have Henderson projected around 13 fantasy points. And then Underdog also does fantasy point projections, and they have their line on Henderson set at 11.05. And it's worth noting that Underdog is half point PPR, so you only get half a point per reception on Underdog. You get a full point per reception on Prizepicks. So given Underdog has their line on Henderson set at 11, this line on Prizepicks should probably be set about 12, 12.5. I think 10.5 is a bit low on TreVeyon Henderson here. So that's going to be our fourth and final prop for the college football playoff round 1. TreVeyon Henderson we're going to take for more than 10.5 fantasy score. So we got 4 props, guys, for college football playoffs round 1. We got a prop from each game. First one, Notre Dame, Indiana. We're going to take Justice Ellison for more than 7.5 fantasy score. Next prop, SMU, Penn State. We're going to take Kevin Jennings for more than 247.5 pass plus rush yards. Next game, Texas, Clemson. We're going to take Phil Maffa for under or less than 13.5 longest rush. And then final game of the college football playoffs, round 1, TreVeyon Henderson in the Ohio State-Tennessee game. We're going to take for more than 10.5 fantasy scores. So we got 4 plays. Should be a lot of fun sweating out all 4 of these plays from each game. Hopefully you guys, if you do tail, hopefully you can win some money on this college football playoffs round 1. I do plan on making college football playoff videos throughout the postseason. We'll obviously have playoff games next Saturday, and I do plan on making a video for the games on next Saturday. So be on the lookout for that. Wanted to go ahead and post this video Friday since there is a prop that I do like in the game Friday night, and then obviously we got 3 plays from the games on Saturday. So yeah, should be a lot of fun, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you find it helpful, or you found it helpful. As always, I do appreciate you guys watching these Prizepicks videos, supporting the content. Hit that like button down below if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button as well. And again, if you guys are new to Prizepicks, go check out Prizepicks, sign up, use promo code NOAH when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code and place your first lineup. You'll get $50 in promo funds instantly added to your account. So make sure to check out Prizepicks if you guys have not yet. But good luck tonight. Good luck as always, and we'll see you guys in the next video.